Hey, what's up, Bronze Age heroes? It's Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and today I want to talk about CGC. It's a video I've had kind of brewing for a while here. I've really had them on my mind a lot. I've wanted to talk about them, and I finally kind of settled in on the thing that's really bothering me with CGC. So let's talk about kind of what's going on, what people's complaints are, and then I'll get into a little bit of a specific complaint that I have about what's going on and how I think it's really misleading. Before I get into the heart of today's video, I do want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is Dangerous Waters Comics and More. They're one of the newest comic book websites out there. They have a really fantastic approach to handling comic book business and its customers because it's run by comic book fans. And you can really see that the business is run with a passion for the hobby. DangerousWatersComics.com is a one-stop shop for FOC comic books, back issues, graphic novels, supplies, action figures and statues, you name it. You can direct message the staff at the website. You can also ask to be notified if an item comes back in stock and you're watching it. Two really great features that make shopping hassle-free. I want to offer you, my viewers, an excellent deal. You can save 10% off over at DangerousWatersComics.com by using the code BRONZE10. You can also get free shipping on orders over $40. Make sure you stay tuned because we do giveaways with them as well, all kinds of cool stuff, so definitely check them out. And remember, at DangerousWatersComics.com, it's a place where you can live dangerously. So when we talk about CGC and sort of the issues they're having, there's just a laundry list, really. You can talk about delays. You can talk about communication, pricing, in-house signing events, quality control. There's just a lot to unpack here. And I think that all of those are really legit concerns that people have that turn a lot of people away from CGC as a business. You know, no one likes finding hairs in their slabs or having comics slabbed upside down, having facsimiles listed as the genuine article first print. All these are things that happen at CGC. And of course, no company is perfect. Every company is going to have an error rate. And really, it's kind of easy to look at this as, you know, they're really swamped. They are hiring new people that probably aren't fully up to speed or completely trained yet. And it's probably kind of all adding up to these little things we're seeing, you know, and to be fair, some of these issues were going on before they even hired new people. So you can't just blame it on that. There's a lot going on here and people aren't happy. And that brings me to a conversation that I had with an owner of an LCS. I'm not going to mention the name, but it's a very large LCS. The owner basically, you know, they submit thousands of books to CGC and they've been pretty patient. They ended up calling about some orders, and really their complaint was, or their main thrust of their communication was, hey, I sent these orders in. That's great. I got these ones back, which I sent in way later. What happened to the old orders? How come they're not done? Which is totally understandable. If you're not familiar, CGC has started, because of, you know, the amount of stuff they're getting, they started telling you, you know, we're checking in mail from this week. As you may or may not know, the clock of the turnaround time doesn't actually start until items are received. So there's been really kind of some token communication about the status of those things. And so this owner was really kind of like just confused and called. And you'll have to take this with a grain of salt because this is secondhand information. But what he said, the representative at CGC told him, is there is no order, there's no rhyme or reason to which submissions are being graded once they are received. Now, you can believe that or not, but it does add up with anecdotal evidence I've seen from the community. In fact, it adds up with my own submissions. I received a 25 book pre-screen a while ago, actually. I'll link to the video up above. And, you know, I did that unboxing, and I actually still have submissions that arrived before those at CGC that are still scheduled for grading. And here's where I get to my real issue. Those other two orders are scheduled for grading. What does that mean, CGC? What does scheduled for grading mean? To me, that would imply that they're on some sort of a timetable to be graded. They are scheduled to be graded. What else could that possibly mean? And if that's the case, tell us what that schedule is. We have a right to know. But here's the trick, and here's why that won't happen. They're not actually scheduled to be graded. That's pretty obvious. There's no actual rhyme or reason to what's getting graded when, once it's been received. It's very frustrating. In fact, it's kind of gone beyond frustrating for me. And part of my anger yeah, this is me angry, kind of worked up, is actually on behalf of the community, because I see people talking about these issues all the time, and there's a real problem here, in my opinion. Just call it something different. You don't have to call it scheduled for grading. You could call it queued. You could call it a lot of different things. You know, you can definitely come up with a better term, but specifically saying that it's scheduled for grading, and specifically telling us, you know, we are now receiving packages from the week of, you're telling us a timetable that is implied. And so since it's implied, it should be relayed to us as customers. I think most people would be pretty happy knowing if they're at each step of the process, which phase of the process they're in, and kind of the rough timetable, an estimate of what it's looking like for being graded. That should be doable. You know, they know their own turnaround times, or they should. They have enough data, plainly, they have enough data that they should be able to interpret those results and pass them on. Now, the real issue here is that you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. That's the fear anyway. Well, I have news for you, CGC. You're doing it right now. If I have books that have been scheduled to be graded for months now, it's a meaningless term. So this kind of brings me to where I'm at with CGC, and I'm not, this isn't like me writing off CGC. I enjoy CGC's business. A lot of people correctly point out that to a certain extent, we'll probably still have to put up with this as long as we keep paying CGC money to grade books. So you as a viewer might be looking at me going, well, why would you still grade books there? I don't actually. I let my subscription lapse at the end of August, and I have no more submissions that I've sent into CGC since then. I do, however, have several submissions that were submitted 6 months prior to that and leading up to that time frame that you'll see me getting. So I don't want you to think, what a hypocrite, he's still sending stuff to CGC. And I would definitely love to get to a point where I submit comic books to CGC again, but I need to see certain quality markers improve. Communication, timetables, those kind of things need to be in line with my expectations. I genuinely hope that we do see if those services improve. And a lot of people then would say, hey, how come you just don't use CBCS or another grading service? And I would use CBCS. I have no problem with that. I do prefer CGC because I've submitted, like, I collect X-Men. If you're not familiar, I collect X-Men, the run of Uncanny. And the books that I have slabbed from that run, I'd prefer if they're all slabbed by CGC. So that's one reason. The same thing's true for my G.I. Joe collection. If I submit a book from my G.I. Joe collection, I prefer it be slabbed by CGC. Outside of those two collections, I really don't care unless it's for investment. If I'm investing in a book, CGC does return a slightly better investment, and it's just kind of simpler. If you have a book from CBCS, occasionally you will deal with people that say, well, it should be a little bit cheaper. I don't personally agree with that, and I don't generally want to sell a CBCS slab for cheaper. That conversation can come up, and I prefer to avoid that. Doesn't mean I won't use CBCS. I think they're, all things considered, not perfect, but they're just as good at grading as CGC. I think depending on the current mood, the current climate of either company, sometimes one's more strict on the grading than the other, and that kind of goes back and forth from what I've seen over the last few years. And if you're, if you're with CGC and you're wondering, what it would take for CGC to get my business back or to activate my membership, well, let's just say that I've scheduled the reactivation of my membership. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I just want to remind you, as always, hey. Read comics every day.